All right. Hello, everyone. This is Tony. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Shop Black. Today, I am joined by Mr. Maurice Jones, the CEO of LISC. Maurice, how are you doing today?
I'm well. I hope you're doing well also.
I am. Thank you for asking. So for all those who don't know, can you tell us what LISC is and what your organization does?
Sure. LISC is a community development and community development finance organization. What we do is through providing access to capital, grants, loans, equity investments, tax credit equity, technical assistance, we bring into being or help to bring into being affordable housing, small businesses, community facilities like schools and healthcare centers. We work with groups on community policing and safety. It's the whole gamut of community development. We are in the opportunity business is what I like to tell people. And so we try to use capital and technical assistance and consulting services to catalyze opportunities with a real focus on communities of color and communities where folks are, if you will, struggling every day to make ends meet and to pay the bills. That's where we focus our work.
Okay, awesome. So what are some of the grants and loans that you offer?
So we are doing grants across the board. We are doing a huge push on grants to small businesses now. So a number, we've probably done, since COVID started, we've probably done somewhere north of $80 million in small grants, anywhere from $5,000 to $25,000 to help businesses stay open. In addition, we have grants that we provide to nonprofits. Those nonprofits could be in the workforce space, in the housing space, anywhere in the human services space, and we provide grants to them to do their work and particularly now to stay open during this time also. And then we are also in the business of providing grants to organizations to help them transform into financial opportunity centers where they provide financial literacy coaching and workforce development. And so we've got a host of disciplines or a host of ways that we use grants to try to advance community development.
No, that's great. And where do you, what is the source of these grants?
So we get grants from philanthropic sources. We get grants from Lowe's, as an example of a corporate citizen that just provided a huge grant to us. We get grants from individuals. We get grants from government. So we get grants from a number of different sources. I should add, in addition to grants, we also get loans from different sources that we then relend. So we try to provide a whole array of financial tools. And the sources of those range from philanthropic sources to corporate sources to government sources. We're also a AA- S&P rated company, so we can go to the capital markets and borrow from there also.
Oh, wow, that's great. So the capital that you do receive, do you solicit these funds? You have like an active outreach, or is it mainly funders coming to you, or is it like a mixture of both?
So I am always soliciting funds.
Okay.
And I don't want your viewer to perceive that in the way that it was not intended.
Right.
We're in the fundraising business all the time. But to your point, some of the funds that we receive are directly related to our efforts to go out and raise it. Some actually come to us. You have companies that see us as a way through which to get work done. And so they bring capital to us as well. So and we love that. That's always humbling and rewarding, but so it comes in both ways.
Right. And you're clearly doing a good job. I mean, recently, I know Netflix just allocated 2% of a lot of money. And
Yes.
I think LISC received about 25 million of
Yes,
that, which is going
25
to a
so far.
fund.
That's right.
Could you speak on that a little bit? What's going on?
Yeah, we love that. So this is a great example where Netflix wanted to really contribute to Black economic advancement. And they learned of our work. And so they approached us about making an investment in us so that we could then make investments in Black-led banks, Black-led CDFIs, HBCUs, and then Black-led businesses. And so they've invested about $25 million out of they've got a $100 million commitment that they've made. My hope is this 25 million will go so well and be perceived to be so effective that they will actually also invest more. But that's a great example of where an entity decided, here's the problem I want to solve. They looked and found us as providing a solution, and they invested in that solution.
No, that's great. One thing you just mentioned, was HBCUs. I'm a graduate of Howard University, so I have an affinity for HBCUs. Yep. What are your plans around helping out in that area?
So we are real hopeful that we can provide some financing for HBCU projects to help them get across the finish line. The Netflix investment, we're going to, with that investment, provide a bridge financing instrument that can help HBCUs with capital projects that they need financing to bridge between pre-development and a takeout source. We are hopeful to provide that kind of bridge financing. We also are going to try to participate in financings where they need a loan or someone needs another source of financing to make a deal pencil. We want to be part of that as well. So absolutely, HBCUs, they're anchor institutions in their communities, and we want to help them build dormitories, build housing, build community facilities, the kinds of things that they do that benefit their students and the wider community of which they are part.
Definitely. That's a great initiative. Lowe's recently became, I think, the largest contributor to your COVID-19 small business relief fund with 30 million?
60 million.
60 million.
$60 million grant. It is just, I'm humbled by their generosity. Wow. And what they're doing is they're allowing us to use half of it for businesses in rural America and then half of it for businesses in urban America. Okay. And they want us to particularly focus on small businesses led by people of color and women. It's an incredible act of generosity. And they acted really fast, really quickly, and we're already at work with them.
Wow. And I believe the CEO of Lowe's is Black, correct?
That's right.
So what are your thoughts on the importance of diversity being at those high levels in corporate America so people can understand, the issues that are going on in the Black community and be able to address them, be in a position to address them, such as this?
We need more of it. Marvin Ellison, the CEO of Lowe's, is a perfect example. This is a young African-American male who's now the CEO, and he, was born and raised in a small town in Tennessee, right? And so he's got a lived experience as a young African-American male growing up in a southern small town in America. Yep. And that has shaped his values, that has shaped his aspirations, that has shaped his philanthropy, that has shaped who he is. And so we need more of that within corporate America at the highest levels so that corporate America can better reflect the diversity that is America. No question about it. It makes a difference. Anybody who tells you it's different, it does not. They're either failing to see something or they're denying something. I don't know what it is, but if you want to have the whole truth represented. In corporate America, you've got to have more diversity in the C-suites. And I'm so grateful to Marvin for the work that he and Lowe's are doing. It's incredible.
Yeah, no, that's amazing, without a doubt. You mentioned rural and urban businesses. What are some examples of, I guess, a rural business that could apply for a grant or a loan, and an urban business? And where are you seeing success in those areas?
Yeah, so certainly in rural areas, you know, farmers, right? Agriculture is one of the most obvious sectors that can apply to us for grants. But you know, aquaculture is a big thing in rural areas, particularly along the coast, where people are, you know, they're actually raising fish and other sea wildlife, if you will. So that's also another area. Small manufacturing is another area. Agritourism is another area. It's environmental stuff, solar manufacturing, those kinds of companies. All of those are the kinds of things that we are interested in trying to make sure that we invest in sustaining them and helping them to grow and fight the good fight during this tough COVID and recession period.
Sure. And obviously, you know, Black farmers are ridiculously underfunded.
Yep.
Missing out on all types of money that, you know, goes towards that industry. Do you have a lot of farmers reaching out to you, or is that an area where you would hope to see kind of more activity?
I definitely would expect to see even more activity now. And yeah, we work in about now 2,200 rural counties in 45 states.
Okay.
And you definitely have farmers and folks who are working in agricultural industries or industries connected with agriculture in almost every rural place where we work.
Sure. Okay. And switching to the urban businesses, there are a few reports that say Black-owned businesses are underrepresented in areas of high growth, such as technology, maybe biotech, and the areas, you know, I guess that make a lot of money, for lack of a better phrase. Are you seeing a lot of tech startups reaching out, or is that another area where you would hope to see more demand?
That's an interesting question as to whether we will see tech startups. So my intuition in the urban areas now is you're certainly going to have small manufacturing and advanced manufacturing that will be a part of what we will be investing in. And they're all, what's the best way of saying it? They're all being transformed by technology. Yeah. And so there are very few industries right now that you can talk about that are not in some ways technological or part of the technology sector. So almost everything that we're investing in has some kind of technology component, or we're basically helping them with a technology component. Okay. So yeah, I would expect to see sort of the pure technology companies, what people think of as pure technology companies, but I would expect to see even more, small businesses in the retail space, in the food and beverage space, in small manufacturing that has technology as a piece of it. That's where I would expect to see a lot of the businesses that we will be working with, and it's certainly what we have seen up to now. Absolutely.
Great. And you mentioned offering technical assistance as part of the services that you provide. What type of technical assistance do you provide to business owners or nonprofits?
It can span the spectrum. So we can, to the point that you were just making, we can help small businesses acquire the technology that they need to now work remotely. We can help them acquire the consulting services that they need to reconstruct a business plan or a technology business plan. We've invested in equipment. We've invested in new programs when it comes to nonprofits. It really is the whole gamut of technical assistance. We have done hands-on technical assistance where we've helped businesses get the kinds of permits that they need to enter into new commercial spaces. We've paid for feasibility studies to take a look at space or business plan. It's really a comprehensive and diverse set of technical assistance services that we will either pay for, either provide ourselves hands-on, invest in a partner that's doing, or help them bring in a consultant to do it.
Well, you are a one-stop shop for Black business excellence, right?
Well, we work with a lot of partners, so I want to really stress that.
Sure.
We've got about 3,000 partners across the country, and it's really those partners that we work with. It's that partnership that actually is able to serve these businesses.
Sure.
There's nothing that we do by ourselves. It's always with partnerships. Our conviction is the most important assets for a small business are those in that community. It's proximity that matters.
Yeah.
So what we try to do is find business partners that are proximate to the problems that we're trying to solve, invest in and with and through them, and go to work.
That's great. So in regards to, so that's the private sector, rural and urban businesses.
Yes.
In terms of the government, how do you work with government entities?
Yeah, great question. One, governments invest in us just like the private sector does, so that we can actually do community development work on their behalf. That's one way. The other thing is we provide technical assistance to government. So often we are working with government to provide counseling to them how to use their assets, how they can. So let me give you an example. We had a local government that came to us, and they had a pool of funds, about 2 or 3 million, and they wanted to use that pool to actually provide loans to small businesses, low interest loans to small businesses. Okay. And working with them, we came up with a solution where we use their funds as a loan loss reserve, and their funds leveraged our ability to raise other capital that we would then lend with the cushion that their funds play the loan loss reserve role. Wow. So whereas they came to us with $2 million that they wanted us to just lend out, we took their $2 million and raised another $10 million and ended up lending $10 million to these small businesses instead of that $2 million. So we often work with local governments to leverage their resources to do the kind of work that they want done in the community. And that's really a key point to this sort of community development work. It's really about leverage. It's really about how you can, I like to describe it as build a layer cake. If you can get a layer of philanthropic capital, a layer of low interest debt capital, a layer of equity capital, you can solve a lot of problems. And what we often do is build that layer cake.
No, that's great. I mean, I'm glad that you mentioned leverage. So that's what I was actually going to say, that you are doing a great job of leveraging. In this particular case, that 2 million, leveraging it to, you said 10
million.
Oh, that's great. Another government, I think, program that I read about was the the new market tax credits?
Yes, we are a new market. So we're the largest allocatee of the new markets tax credits. The new markets tax credits sort of work like, if you're familiar, low-income housing tax credits really are the greatest, well, they're the most effective and the most powerful federal incentive to build and preserve affordable housing for folks who are at 60% of area median income or below. The new markets tax credits are tax credits that allow us to raise capital to build or preserve or enlarge healthcare centers, community facilities. It can have some housing to it, but it's largely community facilities. So we have used those to raise equity capital that then contributed to financing YMCAs and Boys and Girls Clubs and FQHCs, supermarkets, the whole gamut of facilities that a community needs to be robust.
So these, I think it was a $50 million tax credit.
We just recently received a $50 million allocation. That's right.
Okay. So when it comes to, I guess, creating the resources that you just mentioned, you also mentioned grocery stores. Now, a lot of Black communities are in what is commonly known as food deserts.
Absolutely.
Are there any plans around creating grocery stores or building grocery stores in these areas?
Absolutely. We have done 200 plus already. We're gonna do more.
Wow.
Yeah, we're gonna do more. That is food and attacking food deserts with I shouldn't say just 200 grocery stores. It's a combination of grocery stores and community markets, but basically getting at the same thing. How do you bring access to healthy foods and vegetables and fruits into a community? I want to tell you about one that really stands out for me. So Brockton, Massachusetts, right outside of Boston, there's a community in Brockton that's largely inhabited by people who are immigrants from Cape Verde. And there was a 5-acre lot in this part of Brockton that had been vacant for 20 years. Vacant. It was an eyesore. It was a nuisance. As you might imagine, it was an attractor of things that you didn't want in your community. Well, we worked with the local community, a local FQHC, and we went in and financed the construction of a supermarket and a federally qualified healthcare center on what had been an abandoned 20-year lot. But here's the deal. This supermarket was the only place in town where you could go and buy fruits and vegetables and meats from Cape Verde. And so it turned the niche and we worked with a Black entrepreneur, and they had a grocery store in another part of Brockton. And so they knew how to operate.
Wow.
So we worked with them and the FQHC, and we located on that site a supermarket and an FQHC, but a supermarket that catered to folks from Cape Verde. You could only get the spices and the foods there from Cape Verde. So that was done with a fund that we put together with the help of the new markets tax credits.
So would someone who wants to start a grocery store, would they be able to like send you a business plan?
Yeah, absolutely.
Get started that way? Okay, so it's not only for established businesses. You can say, hey, I'm starting from scratch. Here's my idea.
Yeah, this supermarket, this was a vacant lot, right? This was a lot that had been vacant for 20 years.
That's true.
So what we look for are folks who can operate, right? If they can operate a grocery store, we want to talk to them.
Okay. And what are the criteria for getting approved for, whether it's, I guess it varies, but in general.
It does. It varies. Look, what we want to find is a food desert, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's one thing, is we're looking for a place that we can actually contribute to bringing healthy food to a place where it's hard to get it right now.
Sure.
We love to have folks who got experience operating supermarkets, right? That's a key criteria for us, that you need a team that has some experience somewhere. We look at the business plan. We try to pull together the financings from different sources, including new markets, tax credits. We want to make sure that this is someone who's committed to the community.
Definitely.
Right? So look, we are, at the end of the day, it's about the mission, right? If you are trying to serve Black folks, so you're trying to serve folks of color, if you're trying to serve low and moderate income communities, if you don't have that, we're not the ones to work with.
Got it.
No matter how good your business plan is,
right.
we're a mission-oriented organization, so we've got to have that alignment on mission.
That makes perfect sense. And so you also have a team that's focused on opportunity zones. What work are you doing in that area, and how do you ensure that the communities in that area will actually benefit from?
Yeah. So we do a couple of things in the opportunity zone arena. One, we've got a partnership with the Rockefeller Foundation, where we're trying to put basically foot soldiers working with local government and communities to build a pipeline of investable projects in the places where we want the investment.
Okay.
And of the kind that we want.
Yeah.
Secondly, we're using our capital to invest in projects and opportunity zones, both debt and equity. And then thirdly, we're trying to work with mission-based or mission-oriented developers and others who are trying to do things in opportunity zones to help them actually get their projects financed and across the goal line. So we finance, for example, a young Black developer in Anacostia in DC who wanted to do a business center, a facility that would house both DC government and commercial businesses, one of which, to the point you made earlier, is a Black business that is in the technology space that was moving from Northwest Washington to Anacostia. So we provided capital, debt, grant, and opportunity zone equity to try to finance the reality of this commercial center in the center of Anacostia.
Right.
That's the kind of stuff that we like to do with opportunity zones.
That's great.
And by the way, I tell people all the time, we were investing in opportunity zones before it was cool.
Right.
But before they became known as opportunity zones, we had already invested $2.5 billion in opportunity zones. So that's just, for us, that's what we do.
Wow.
This opportunity zone piece is just another tool with which we want to invest in these communities. But this is in our DNA. This is why we exist. So we love to find partners to work with in opportunity zones.
So y'all are the OGs of opportunity zone investing.
we humbly go about investing in these communities with partners.
That's amazing. So I wanted to get your thoughts, and kind of like wrapping up, what are your thoughts on, because whenever you have an initiative or a fund or any type of focus on investing or trying to better specifically Black-owned businesses, Black communities, there are going to be those who say, oh, why not give it to everybody? You know, why specifically Black-owned businesses? Like, what are your thoughts on what is your, I guess, I won't say your argument, but why is it important to invest in Black-owned businesses, and why does that benefit everybody? Yeah,
it's a great question. Let me try to answer that this way. I used to work in the state capitol building in Richmond, Virginia. I worked in state government. I could get in my car from the state capitol building, drive 5 minutes to the east of that state capitol building, and I would be in a zip code, a census tract, where the life expectancy was 63 years old, where the residents were overwhelmingly Black and brown, right? Come back to that state capital, I could drive 5 minutes to the west. Mm-hmm. I would be in a zip code in the census tract where the life expectancy was 83 years old, and it was overwhelmingly white in its inhabitants, right? Wow. 10 minutes apart, 20 years difference in life expectancy. Mm. What was the difference? The difference was not who had access to clinical care at the local hospital. It was who had active small businesses in their communities providing jobs, paying livable wages, who had quality housing in their community that was free of allergens and free of asthma-producing lead paint, who was worried about whether they could make rent or not. It was the social determinants, right? Take Boston. In Boston, the median wealth of a Black family, well, let me look at it another way. The Federal Reserve in Boston looked at the median wealth of Black families versus white families. They discovered that the median net worth of a white family in Boston, $247,000. The median wealth of a Black family, $8. What you have in America are two Americas.
Yeah.
You've got a Black one and a people of color one, and you've got a white one. Yeah. And that's a generalization, but for the purposes of answering this question, the reason why, and we didn't get here through some organic, hands-off approach.
Right.
We got here through intentional discrimination, intentional redlining, intentional keeping people out. Yep. The only way we get out of something that was created intentionally is to do something that's created intentionally to get us out of it. So you have to focus on race and color and census tracts and zip codes, because that's how we got into this, right? The other thing is, MacKenzie just did a study that if we could raise the net worth of Black families and create more Black wealth in the country, it would raise the overall GDP of the country exponentially. Wow. So this is not just good for Black businesses or businesses led by people of color. This is actually what makes America stronger. The bottom line, and I think COVID and the recession is showing this, we are only as strong as our most vulnerable parts. When we strengthen and make our most vulnerable parts more resilient, we actually strengthen the entire whole, and we make us a more perfect union. So it is in America's vital interests that it has to get rid of these racial wealth and health gaps. Yeah. And you can't do it by not being intentional. You have to be intentional if you're going to make progress. That would be my argument.
No, that's perfectly said. Actionable steps is what's going to make the difference.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow. Thank you so much, Maurice. It was a pleasure speaking with you.
Hey, it was a pleasure speaking with you. This was wonderful to get a chance to chat with you. I hope we can continue to stay in touch.
Definitely. I will be in touch with you.
All right. Sounds good.
Wrapping up, how can business owners or anyone who wants to get in touch with you or get more information on your programs?
Google us at LISC.org. Send me an email at mjones@LISC.org. Either way works with me.
All right. Thank you very much for your time, sir. You have a great rest of the day.
Nice to be with you. Stay well.
Take care.
Bye-bye.